Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Circle of Knowledge podcast. I'm your host, John Kovac Jr., joining you today on this beautiful Friday morning. Wherever you are from the world, I'm looking out my window, and it is snowing here in Silicon Slopes of Utah. It has been snowing for the last 3 days. It won't stop. It can't stop. It keeps going. So hopefully you're out there. You're safe. I've had quite the adventure over the last few weeks, but given those adventures, I've met some amazing people in person, from book signings to speaking engagements to coaching opportunities, and to also serve and help some of my fellow friends. And it's just been a wild ride and an incredible journey. Today, I get to be joined on the Circle of Knowledge podcast by an individual who I got to get to know in a very, very intimate and interesting way as we were creating a book series. And many of you know the book series as Boom, the 13 Steps to Riches. This is our second volume I'm holding up. But in this book volume, we have 33 contributing amazing professional authors who we vetted, who are incredible orators and describers, and they teach what they know in regards to the 13 Steps to Riches, which was originally created and I guess described by Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich. So I'm really, really excited to dive deep into this person's, as I've had the opportunity to interview this person before. I've also been able to connect them and to build a relationship and to just recognize how amazing he is. I'm really excited to do that. But before we bring him on and before I formally introduce him, a couple quick announcements. Again, the Circle of Knowledge podcast will be populating all of its episodes over the next few weeks and getting ready to finish our 2021 schedule. But our season 5 is still going strong, and it will throughout the next year. And so if you are an author, a coach, a speaker, a highly paid or highly respected professional in your profession, I really encourage you to contact me in my bio, or as well as you can send me personal messages here on the Anchor podcast system. Or if you just send me an email, it's in the bio link down below. I would love to hear your story and have you on the podcast, but don't think it's that easy because we've got people lined up for months and months and months. So I wanted to share that, but I wanted to invite you guys to apply to be on the show. As we are expanding our channels, we'll be bringing on other personalities. We'll be launching a few more other things that will be really, really exciting as the growth of Champion Circle Networking Association will also be growing. So there's a few announcements for you, but I just can't wait to get to our keynote speaker and our guest today. I just wanted to share a few quick notes because this gentleman is amazing. He is a international keynote speaker. He's a 5-time best-selling author, and he just released an amazing book on real estate. He's a real estate investor and a master of persuasion. I also want to share just intimately that this individual has been through hell and back. He has been through the ringer. He has seen it all. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Bryce McKinley to the stage. Bryce, welcome to the Circle of Knowledge podcast. Let me get rid of my face in our background here, but I'm so glad you're here. And how are you doing today?
Dude, I am too blessed to be stressed, John. I love that intro, but I can't sleep on the fact that it's snowing in Utah, man. I miss the snow. That's so cool. So you guys are experiencing a snowstorm up there?
We are, and I picked the perfect day to travel home during one of the most wicked snowstorms. And so, you know what? I don't think it's Southwest Airlines. I think it's every airline is currently on delay. So just be careful out there, everybody. But yeah, it is coming down. It's awesome.
Tis the season, John. Tis the season. Man, thank you so much for having me on here today. I was super excited. It gave me the goosebumps just thinking about it as you were talking about how we met. And all the other entrepreneurs that we have the pleasure of co-authoring this book, it's an honor, right? We've written other books and we've collabed in masterminds, but to be able to come together and break down our expression of the man, the myth, the legend in business, Napoleon Hill and his 13 Steps to Riches, it's been an honor working with you and your team over there, brother. And you guys are just amazing. So thank you so much for having me on the Champion Circle this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. And I can't iterate more what you just said. It is an honor. And I'm so blessed to just get to know people. And I actually consider if people knew what I got to do as a result of this project, I mean, I think everyone would be drooling in jealousy, because I truly get to read everybody's contributions and chapters, including our celebrity chapters, before everyone else. And I have to literally dive into line for line, word for word, to look for all mistakes and opportunities to make the book align with our vision and the alignment that we chose. And it's such an honor to fulfill that and to work with so many great people. Again, we've vetted every single author in this book, and they're absolutely amazing. And we look forward to more series as we have more volumes to the series, as we have
we got more chapters to write, brother.
More chapters to write. Book 4 comes out on January 18th. I was just told the other day by our publishing community. And we just keep rocking and rolling. But I love to do this because you're amazing, and I love your speaking style. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself. But before we talk about the present, let's talk about the past for just a second. And tell me about where you've come from. I mean, give us a little inkling of your story and where you have become the current Bryce McKinley. Just set the table, man. Tell us what it's all about.
Man, where do I start, John?
I know, right?
So for those of you that don't know me, or maybe you're just coming in on the live, first and foremost, I need you guys to share this out, because if you're under the sound of my voice, I know that you're here for a reason, and we all have purpose, but we don't go to opportunities, we grow to opportunities. And the mere fact that you're under the sound of my voice right now means that this encounter, this communication event today is ordained, and your steps are already been ordered. And so if you don't know who I am and what the team that I have that represents kind of the message that we're going to deliver here today, my name is Bryce McKinley. As you can see from the little label down here on the bottom, like I'm backwards here, this label. And first and foremost, I'm a husband. Secondly, I'm a dad. So I'm a real dude, just like you or you or you. And so being human comes first. And I've found over the years that we all start going through life just doing this or doing that. But even man called us human beings. So I'm going to ask you today to just kind of open your mind for the next 10, 15 minutes and think about being the human being versus the human doing. Start implementing and acting on the things that I'm going to tell you today so that you can get the results that you desire tomorrow. But I haven't always had this type of thinking. You see, I go back, and 6, 7, 8 years old, I had that entrepreneur / like speaker coach mentality and persuasion in me, but I didn't know where it came from. And some of you are going through some things. It's the holiday season. It's stressful. We just got out of the C word, right? Like everybody's got these things on their face. I don't even like to say that word. It's bad energy, right? But I'll tell you this. I look back when I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and I was in a tough spot where my family had little to no income. My dad worked 2 or 3 jobs. My mom did the whole stay-at-home mom thing because she had to take care of my brother and I, and we were broke. We were poor, government food stamps, and just not in a great place economically or socially. And so I always had this hunger inside of me. And my friend Les Brown once said, and he says it all the time, like, if you want anything that anybody else has, you got to get hungry. You got to be willing to do today what others won't so that you can have tomorrow what others want. And that was the passion. That's where it started. With some of the natural talents and abilities that I had, I went to work. I started executing on the things that I knew would get me results tomorrow, but I started doing them today. I started being the person today that got me the results tomorrow. And unfortunately, through a series of unfortunate events, after being raised in a very strict religious household, my parents separated, and everything that I knew about God just went right out the window, and I became hurt. And a lot of you have been hurt, whether it's been by your mom or your dad or relationships in your family, or maybe the church that you grew up in, or all of the above. I got hurt just like you. And I took that hurt and I turned it into fuel and did the best that I knew how, and I went to work. What did that mean? Well, my mom moved into low-income housing and housing projects in one of the worst neighborhoods in America. And while I don't claim to be the most worst destitute person, there's people that have had it worse. We were in tough situations between drugs and alcohol and people coming in and out of the house. And then I turned to a lifestyle of crime. I'll never forget, at the age of 17, facing some very hefty criminal charges. And on my last opportunity of life, looking at 20 to life on about 20 criminal charges. By the grace of God, I remember 17 years old, the hammer came down and the judge dismissed my case. Now you're like, oh, that's great. Well, I didn't think so, because my uncle grabbed me by the ear, took me to Davenport, Iowa, and made me start detailing cars. And I detail cars day in, day out for months, almost a year. And after begging him over and over for an opportunity, because I knew if I could live the lifestyle that I had, change the lifestyle and make a new one, I could take this change and also make a new one. And so that's exactly what I did. I kept begging and begging. And if I could sell dope and hang out with the crowd that I did in the south side of Chicago, I could sell trucks and cars to farmers in Iowa. That was like my mentality, right? So I was always forward thinking. And so one of the things that I hope that you take away from my story this far is that don't just look toward goals and opportunities. Look to how you're going to get there. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And I'm going to come back to that when we start talking about sales and persuasion. But it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And wouldn't you know it, one snowy afternoon, it was about this time back in like a long time ago. I'm not going to date myself, but yeah, I'm that old. He said, son, if you can sell a car today, I'll put you on the team. And I'll never forget, John, I got hungry. I got so hungry. And I sold 2 trucks and an Explorer on a snowy blizzard afternoon. And within the next week, he put me on the team. And within the next 2 years, I became the #1 car salesman in the world with Ford Motor Company, and then recruited out of my dealership, and then Nissan and Toyota and Honda, and just this domino effect, because I was serving and I was a salesman. And I believe, John, that selling is a service.
Yeah.
And so while I'm at the top of my game, I'm traveling the world, teaching my 5 steps to every conversation. A series of unfortunate events happened. Another situation happened. In 2006, my wife lost a son due to negligent homicide, medical malpractice, and our life started spiraling out of control. My wife then turned to drugs and alcohol, and by 2008, Friday, June 13th, I'll never forget, I get the phone call. She had taken her life. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. I didn't matter. You wouldn't have mattered to me. And I went off the deep end. $80 million, 5 organizations, up my nose and in a bottle, slept in my car for almost a year, fought for custody of my son, got custody of my son, and then September 28, 2011 happens. And you guys, September 28, 2011 was the moment that I realized, dude, you don't go to opportunities, you grow to opportunities. These have all been opportunities along the way to sharpen my axe. And in that moment, I wanted to set the axe down. The same 40 cal that sits next to my bed tonight has never jammed before, hasn't jammed since. But that night I wrote a letter to my mom and a letter to my son. And I pulled my car out from behind this water tower I slept on and slept under, and I pulled the trigger. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And if you're like former military or have ever shot a weapon, like that doesn't happen. And when it does, there's something else going on. And, people call it woo-woo or higher power or this or that. I call it Jesus. He's kind of my bro. Like, he's gangster like that. He makes things happen. And I just started having a conversation. And just like the human conversation, I started having this banter and this relationship. And you fast forward 10 years, I've gotten everything back, given most of it away, been blessed beyond my reasonable, like absolute dreams. And now I get to work with the authors like what we're doing, John, in that book. And I've spoke with Tony Robbins. Heck, John Maxwell and I just had an opportunity to like pray over his team together back in January.
Wow.
And it's just, I've been super blessed. And now it's an opportunity to like share this from a different perspective so that we can all grow together and serve together. So, John, thank you so much for letting me share my story with your audience. I really appreciate that. I just hope that it encourages someone. Don't give up. Even through this holiday season, don't give up. Get on your knees, reach out to someone, pray, do something. But whatever you do, just don't do nothing.
I love that. The hair is sticking up on the back of my neck. I love your story. And again, I had the genuine opportunity to read your story in writing before I ever spoke to you. And in comes this 2,500 word chapter. And you were describing
wasn't it like 4,000 words?
it was pretty up there.
Yeah.
And Bryce poured out his heart, but in explicit detail. He talked about the pulling of the trigger, the cocking of the gun. He talked about his son being in the backseat, apparently, or something like that. And I was just floored. It was one of those moments where I was like, I need to know this guy. He has a reason that he's here. And I don't know how we did it, but we cleaned that up to 1,500 words. But I still have the original copy because it was amazing what his story was about. And I know that there's so much more because I've had now multiple interactions with Bryce, and I've had the opportunity to interview him and chat with him and do a little ghostwriting with him as well. But this has been a really, really exciting part. So as exciting as it was for me, I'm so glad you took about, a few minutes there to explain your story and your background to my listeners. And I'm really grateful for that. A couple things popped up in my brain as you were talking, and then the ADHD let them go as well. So if I can remember them, I'll let them go. But I'm just so excited to ask you a few more questions about, what's going on in your world. And I know that we've got some audience members listening live. If you're not listening to the live and you're listening to the recording of this through whatever podcast channel you're listening to, you can actually connect with Bryce McKinley through the various social media channels. He has it on here up on the screen. You can follow him and connect with him on IG at Coach Sharpen. I have to ask, what is the Sharpen brand all about? And I'm really excited to learn more about this, but that's me jumping from one subject to another. And if it comes back to me, we'll go back to the other topic. But
it's all good. I thank you for asking. I thank you for asking. Yeah, it's for me, it's really personal. I teach in very simplistic terms, right? Like if you can see behind me and you're watching, like one of my company's name is REI Results, for Real Estate Investing Results. And so I like to teach in very simple like acronyms and steps. So that way it's very implementable, not only implementable, but results oriented. And for me, results or Sharpen came about, it's been at least 6-7 years now on this like faith walk journey of mine and having this relationship with my creator. And I'm like, dude, I just need people, right? Like the whole like mastermind concept that we talk about in the business world, I need that in my spiritual walk. I need that in my fitness walk. I need that in my relationship with my wife and my children walk. And so in the spiritual walk that I was building on, Sharpen started out as a men's group, and we would meet on Saturday mornings. We'd have the old man style breakfast. And I had all these older men in my life that I looked up to from a spiritual aspect. And we did like almost like a Bible study, eat and like lunch and learn, but it was breakfast type of thing. And then it's like, dude, I want to go serve the homeless. Like in Dallas, there's like just under 1,700 kids under the age of 17 that are homeless every night. And I want to do something to help and give back. And so this men's group became a missions group. And then it broke and fell apart. And so I formed a nonprofit. And so Sharpen is twofold. If you know the Bible at all, there's a scripture, and I don't care what your religion is. Like, I don't like religion. I love my relationship with God, right? And in the Bible, which you can't deny is the all-time best-selling book of all time, still has always been. And it's got a verse that says, as iron sharpens iron, so does one another to his brother. And it's just like the whole mastermind concept that we all know and love in the business world. And if you don't, you should. And so it's an opportunity to come together and sharpen each other. But then me coming into it like, how am I going to speak this and teach this to somebody? Well, I want to create, like a pattern interrupt. So I put it on my hat backwards. So people would be like, what is that? So then they start and engages conversation. And the acronym behind that is selflessly helping already persons eager for nurturing.
Wow.
And so I'm picky about who I work with. I can only work with people that are serious about working with me because of all the different things that I have going on and where my commitments lie and the boundaries and expectations that I have to set, right? So it's selflessly helping all ready persons. You got to be ready and you got to be willing that are eager for nurturing. And so that's what it stands for, but it also has biblical roots to where we help each other. We lift each other up. We encourage each other. And sometimes we just call the BS out of the crowd and tell it like it is. Like, dude, you're messing up. And that's just, our group of guys that hang out every once in a while. And then once a month, we go down and serve the homeless. We have a huge pizza party. We do a breakfast in the morning. And then we have about $10,000 to $15,000 worth of clothes donated every month that we just pass out. And then in the afternoon, we do a pizza party and there's like some praise and worship. Like, it's a whole all-day event, like all day from like 7 a.m. to like 5 p.m. on the second Saturday of every month down in South Dallas. So it's a fun time.
Oh man, that's amazing. And I love that part of your mission is giving back and helping. I love that you're a God-driven person. That's, part of your making. And, on this show, we obviously are open to and respect all religions, non-religions, all beliefs and faiths, but it's just really delightful to hear that that's part of somebody's professional principles, values, and foundations, because it ultimately, if you don't have a North Star that you're heading towards, then what are you working towards in general? And I think that that's really cool because it inspires a lot of my listeners who are, business owning entrepreneurs, business owning professionals, and so forth. And all looking for that balance, right? The balance between, I have my work life and then I have my home life, and then I've got my Sunday life, and then I've got, my Monday life. And I love that you are just completely integrated with your beliefs, your connection, as you described, and your relationship with a God. And I love that. And I really, really wanted to highlight that because it's evident, it's obvious, and it's also awesome. So
appreciate that. Thank you, John.
Yeah, man. And thank you for explaining sharpen. Wow, that is so cool. And I was the exact same. I was like, why is it backwards? Tell me why it's backwards. I love that. On my laptop, I have a sticker on the back of my laptop. It says, "Hi, my name is John," and it's just because I know people stare at me or look at me in public, and if I can make eye contact, I can just smile and they'll see my name. Or, Pat Flynn. Are you familiar with Pat Flynn?
I know who he is. I don't know him personally. Yeah.
Yeah, Pat Flynn. He branded all of his stuff, like his T-shirts, his hats, his backpack. And he puts in a big smiley face and he says, "Hi, I'm Pat." And he just walks around and he meets people and people are like, "Pat?" And he's like, "Yeah," it's just a really good opener. So I love that you've done that. That's a really cool branding tool. I'd like to transition over to talk to you a little bit about, what you were doing now. And I know that you mentioned real estate and a bunch of that stuff, but there was something that you wanted to share with us. And I know that there is a principle to communication that you're really excited to teach. And I think that nugget of knowledge just needs to disseminate to a lot of my audience members. And I'd like to ask you, what nuggets of knowledge would you like to share today with this amazing audience?
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think it's twofold. One, it's the kind of the foundations of communication. And then secondly, the process. Like if we can all start having better conversations, asking better questions, and understand that, like I said before, it's not what you do, it's not what you say, it's not what you are, but who and how. Who are you talking to? How are you conversing versus what are you talking about, right? Those types of things. So first, I'll just start off with this. This is super simple. And what I'm about to share with you guys is going to change your life. Don't just take my word for it. By the end of this conversation, you're going to have better conversations with your children. You're going to have better conversations with your spouse. You're going to have better conversations with your clients and your business partners. And that is this. Us males, 99.99% of us males, no matter what our love language is, just need a pat on the back. If we can just get a pat on the back, we are going to work harder, drive more, and provide more for our friends and our family around us. So, ladies and gentlemen, just give each other, the guys in your life, a pat on the back. Hey, Bob, you're doing a great job, man. But don't just say you're doing a great job. Give them a reason. Hey, Bob, you're doing a great job because I noticed the other day when you did this, you did it this kind of way, and it was so much more effective. If you give us males in your life a reason as to what we did, and notice what I said there, what we did, we will do the how much better. That's the first part. So give us guys a pat on the back. We come home from work, from the office, from the shop, give us a hug and a kiss, wives. Like, just be like, hey, I'm so proud of you. I love how hard you work for our family. And guess what? We're going to work harder for our family. But notice, there's also a flip side of that. Men, ladies and gentlemen, there's also females in your life. And it doesn't matter if you're this like powerful woman or you're this meek, like humble housewife. Females in the world need three things. So yes, gentlemen, you better start stepping up. And this is part of the sharpen. Like, I'm going to give you a little bit more work. It's your responsibility to nurture that female in your life, whether it's your employee, your business partner, your wife, your daughter. The ladies and females in your life need three things. They need to always feel heard. They need to always feel seen. And they need to always feel safe. Now, that's just not superficial, like, listen to what they're saying at dinner. No, not just, oh, you look beautiful today, right? Not just, okay, I'm big and bad and I can protect you. No, it's like they need to feel safe financially. They need to feel safe spiritually. They need to feel safe relationally, physically, emotionally. They need to feel seen physically, emotionally, spiritually. They need to feel heard spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, all of those things. So how do we do that? It starts by asking better questions. And so I have this tool. So that's the first part of the art of communication. Men need to feel like they have the attaboys, and women need to feel seen, heard, and safe. If you can master those two things, you will do much better in your conversations, in your relationships, your business, your spiritual and faith walk, your finances, everything. So what's the other side of that? How do we actually incorporate and implement that? Well, I have a 5-step process, and I like to play it off of going to the gym. So most of you raise your hand, whether you're driving or watching this on the live stream, John, like you've been to the gym before, right? Yes?
Yeah.
And if you haven't, you at least know the very first step when you go to the gym, before you start bench pressing and running on the treadmill, John, what's the first thing you do when you go to the gym?
Oh, man.
After you check in and go to the locker and you go out to the floor, like what's the first thing you do before you start working out?
I mean, you should probably warm up and stretch.
Yes, you should warm up, right? You should warm up, because if you don't, like, you're going to get hurt, right? And you start getting into your form and you start getting into like the mindset, you start getting into flow. You have to warm up and do it with good form, so that way you don't hurt yourself later. That's step number one, right? And I'm going to go back and tie it into what that looks like in a conversation. So that's step number one. Step number 2, now your blood's going, your energy's up. You're like, okay, I'm in my zone. You make sure you hit the really good podcast now because you're about to go to the bench, right? The good music. You bridge the gap. You don't just go and start bench pressing 100 pounds or 200 pounds. No, you start out at 50 or 75 or maybe 100, and you start adding weight over time. You bridge the gap. You move the needle. But what does everybody do at the gym? They start looking around. Like, man, that John dude's, he's over there repping 200. I got to get to 200, man, right? We start to compare ourselves or keeping up with the Joneses. So that's step 2. And then what happens at step 3? Well, now I'm sitting here on the bench feeling inadequate because I can't lift what John lifts. And I'm over here like 8, 9. And our limiting beliefs come in. And we start to get muscle fatigue, which is really just a mindset. It's chemicals that create a mindset. And we put the bar down, right? So what's step 4? We close out our set. We wrap it up for the day. We end our workout, right? Step number 5, when we're done, we don't just go home and, if you're like me, before I started like working out, go and have a slice of pizza and some ice cream to celebrate your workout. No, you don't do that. What do, John?
You usually have like a protein shake, or you take care of yourself with nutrition. Yeah, all of the above.
That's mastery level. But you should warm down, right? You cool off, right? You stretch back out, maybe roll a knot out on a little roller or whatever, right? Yeah, that's the 5 steps. Now let's take those and put them into the conversation, John. This is where it gets fun. Because you can do this with your wife, with your children, with your business partners, in your masterminds. Step number 1, we warm with form. So where most people, most sales gurus and coaches, and this is why they all sell it at like a 10 to 20%, and I and my team close at like 65 to 70%, right? Most of them are like, go find a commonality. John, we're in the Think and Grow Rich, 13 Steps to Riches book. Dude, like, I love your story. Did you read mine? Blah, 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 blah. And we network like that.
Yeah.
We not only network, we do business like that at the superficial level. But what would happen if we started having conversations that look like this? The form that we should be working out with or conversing with was geared around family, their occupation, their recreation. That always solves money and motivation. You'll never solve someone's problems. And again, remember I said, I believe selling is a service. You'll never solve someone's money or motivation or their obstacle, their hindrance, if you don't add value to their time, family, and their money. You just can't. So we spend some time like, dude, John, I seen that you were in that 13 Steps to Riches. Tell me about that. How long have you been an author? And we have a conversation. This is a new project. Oh, wow, it's a new project. That's exciting. And I'll get back to what I'm doing here in a second. That's exciting. Like, is this your idea or someone else's? Oh, wow, you and your wife went to this thing. How long have you been married? Nice, 5 years. So do you have any kids? What do you guys do for fun? And you spend 3 to 5 questions around people's family, occupation, and recreation, and you'll find out who they are and what they're for so you can solve their motivation later. Step number 1. So like the 80-20 rule applies. Like 80% of your conversation should be spent having a conversation about what someone is for. Not what they want, not how they're going to get it, but who they are and what they want. Once you've done that, then you can go to step 2, which is bridging the gap. Remember, it's keeping up with the Joneses, right? Moving the needle ever so slightly from this is your family, friends, and recreation to who they want to be, right? It's the old desired reality versus their current reality method. It's the old doctor in the office, right? So their desired reality says that they want your product or service or friendship or relationship. Maybe you want the dishes to be done, right? They want a clean bedroom, whatever it is. Desired reality versus current reality. So you have to show them the light at the end of the tunnel. How do you do that? Gosh, John, most of the time people I talk to that are, family men like you that love going out on the weekends, they want to do this, this, and this, but they have questions about this, this, and this. Do you have those same types of questions? So it shows them a glimpse. Inevitably, they always say yes. And then you're like, and besides that, and you ask them about the motivation. Like, why are you at the freaking gym today? Well, I really just, my wife has been on me. Oh, so this is not your cup of tea. Like, how would you truly want to work out? And now you start to get the true underlying, because they know, like, and trust you over here. You start to get the true motivators underneath. You bridge the gap, you move the needle. And now whatever that is, step 3, remember on the bench, right? The limiting beliefs that happen in people's head. Well, now in step 3, we get to ask them questions that challenge their old stinking thinking. Oh, wow. Like, why do you think you got to work out at the gym 2 hours a day, 6 days a week?
Right.
Notice the tonality. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? So you start asking them 3 to 5 questions about what their motivator was. They're going to give you a response, and ask 3 to 5 questions and start weaving that. And if you do that 3 to 5 times, 3 to 5 questions around their motivator, guess what? You just had the most genuine, real conversation. And now you have an opportunity, number 4, to close out your set, close the deal, get the dishes done, get your clothes picked up, children. Somebody go do the laundry in the house, business partner, go execute the plan you've been talking about. You get to close that deal. How do you do that? Well, now you're the trusted authority. You slam that bar down at the gym like you own it, right? Cool. Hey, John, this is what we're going to do. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Inevitably, yeah, they're going to nod their head. Yes, they're going to high five you. Let's do it. And maybe it's not that high power, that high pressure, because I get passionate. But it's like, John, this is what we need to do. Because when you do this, remember, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. When you do this, you'll find, like, dude, you can work out twice a week for 30 minutes if we just change this over here on your diet.
Yeah.
And I've lost 40 pounds in the last 90 days. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. Right? So, oh, yeah. So now we're like best friends cohabitating in this, like, business relationship, or this social relationship, or this personal relationship. And the dishes get done, the bills get paid, the business runs smoother. Your relationship with God, when you start asking him questions like that, he talks back and closes you. I promise you, like, God will tell you what to do if you just have a conversation with him. And then what do you do when you're done? Like, you don't just walk away like, high five, God, like, bro, like, pieces, deuces, or high five, like, good job on the dishes. No. You warm down with form, just like at the gym. You stretch it out. Gosh, you got the dishes done a lot faster than I thought you would. Congratulations. Do you make them feel seen, heard, or safe? Man, how do you want to go celebrate? You don't want to do dishes tonight. You want to go eat a steak dinner or go get some seafood? Right? You start going family, occupation, recreation on the backside. So we always warm with form. Family, occupation, recreation solves motivation, money, determination, whatever. And then on the backside, you do the same thing, just like at the gym. And when you do that, relationships happen, business happens, your faith walk grows. All of these things happen. And guess what? Like the whole mastermind principle, you're having these mini masterminds with people. And people are people, and they love relationships. But most of us are hurt. Most of us have stories that we tell ourselves, like, oh, I could never do that. Dude, I'm just a dude that hangs out in hooded sweatshirts on 100-degree weather with my AC cranked down to 50. Like, I'm just a human too, you know, just like you and I. So those are the 5 steps of conversation, and those are the 2 principles that I base them off of. Men need to pat about on the back. Women need to feel heard, seen, and safe in all of those areas. If we do that with those 5 steps, it's just a big nucleus, like that champion circle up there. It's just like, it's amazing. And so that's what I wanted to share with your audience. And so I hope that you guys start asking better questions, not on the what's, but on the how's. And when you do that, use what I call the rack. Remember step 4 where we rack the bar? Well, so John, I'll give you an example. Throw just a random statement, any random statement into the universe at me, like you were going to be like, oh man, that sky is blue, but give me something different. Random statement.
Interesting. Okay. A good statement. This is good. I like being put on the spot. I like this. Let's do positive or negative.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. How about everything is awesome?
Everything's awesome? Dude, that
Everything
sounds like you live an exciting life. What do you mean by everything?
Everything. I mean, your attitude is everything. You can either have a bad day or you can have an awesome day, and you can
Oh, that
decide to
makes
do
sense.
that.
So your attitude is everything. So with that principle, that makes so much more sense. That's some wisdom, John. When and where did you get that knowledge?
I've got great mentors. I've got great people I've spent my time around, and it's it's
So I
all
want to
about
stop you real quick.
yeah,
Like I could stop him right there, but most people want to be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I got
yeah. No,
mentors
I keep
too,
going.
right? So normally in a business relationship, in a personal relationship, you're going to let John, like, I've got great mentors and this and this and this. And now it's like, wow, you do have some great mentors. That's exciting. Like, who has been the favorite person that you've ever worked with?
Right.
And now you're going to get him to open up and tell more. And then you're going to ask him why. And you're going to ask him how. And what was his greatest takeaway? Next thing you know, John just did 90% of the talking. And you're like, dude, John, we should definitely work together because of what Tony Robbins taught you. Did you realize, like, he hired me and my team to teach him that 10 years ago? Just imagine the growth you would have. And that was important to you, right?
Yeah.
So if we take these two things and work on them and get the results that Tony's had, wouldn't that be beneficial? Now I could close a deal, or now I can take his personal development to the next level, or I could get the dishes done if that was a conversation with my wife or my daughter or my son, right? So I stop you there to show you that RACK is not RACK like racking the bar, but it's an acronym, RAQ. I might put this in the chat for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
RAQ. It's repeat, assign a feeling or an emotion, and ask a question. So we go back to attitude is everything. That sounds exciting, right? So I repeat, I assign a feeling or emotion. That's exciting. Where did you learn that? And I ask a question. RAQ, repeat, assign a feeling or emotion, ask a question. I'm in real estate, John. My team and I, we buy and fix and flip 150 to 200 houses, depending on what time of the year, a month, right? Between wholesale and flip and buy and hold. We do about 100 plus transactions a month. And we talk to people about their crappy situations with their wife leaving them or inheriting old properties and the houses that have been like left 20 years untouched, right? So people come to us with houses that need work, and it's like, gosh, you just want to get rid of this thing? That sounds overwhelming. How long has it been since you had the roof looked at? Oh, wow, you haven't. Gosh, that's got to be frustrating. Do you know what it costs to fix a roof versus everybody else in the business that is like, oh, yeah, we definitely got to tear this roof up. And you didn't even give a darn that they don't care about the roof. They don't have the money to fix the roof. They don't have the wherewithal or the knowledge to do the product or service that you provide, Mr. Entrepreneur or Mrs. Entrepreneur that's listening to this. They came to you for help, and you're telling them why they're bad versus asking them how long, right? I talk about the doctor all the time and the current reality versus desired reality. It's like when we start having better conversations, I just spoke at Door-to-Door Con with a bunch of like door-to-door salesmen. And they like instantly have to build rapport in seconds. Well, most of them fail, 99% of them, even like the top 1% of that industry, because they're like, hey, blah, blah, I'm just in the neighborhood. And it's like, dude, that was so fake and superficial. What if you like slammed the door really hard and came out and like acted like you were looking at the person's truck or mailbox? And they're like, what's wrong? Oh, nothing. I was just admiring this. Your truck? And you made it about them. Yeah, dude, I love this. Like, I'm not a truck guy, but dude, this is an awesome truck. Like, where'd you get this thing? Right? And we start caring about the people in our lives, right? I just quoted a quote, like a lot of us are leaders that are entrepreneurs. And it's like, I can't stress enough, John. Y'all need to stop worrying about being in charge and start worrying about the people in your charge. Your wife, your children, your colleagues, your business partners, the future relationships that you have or will create. Start worrying about them now. Start sharpening the axe now. So, John, I could go for hours, brother. I love doing this, and we have such a good connection. And so thank you for letting me share those 3 things, man.
And I love learning from you, Bryce. This has been very, very valuable for a lot of my listeners and for myself. I mean, selfishly, like, why do I do this podcast? I get to learn from the coolest people I know, and this is something that I'll continue to look back on. But thank you for teaching that, and also thank you for simultaneously giving my audience a challenge, because it really is taking that first step, or jumping into one of those sets and making sure that you rack it right. I love that, and I love the explanation. I love the comparison to a real awesomeness, and I'm just really grateful for that. I'm really grateful for the presentation and for everything, and it's so awesome. How can my listeners get a hold of you? Obviously, you've got your IG up there. What's the best and fastest way for them to contact you, connect with you, and learn more about what you've got going on?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that, John. First and foremost, just everybody that's under the sound of my voice, thank you for taking the time to listen today. And whatever you do, don't do nothing. My son once quoted hashtag the middle school millionaire. I got to give him a shout out. He just had a birthday. My son once quoted this: the gun that killed the most people is the gunna. Oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. The New Year's is coming up. I'm gonna do that. Stop gonna doing anything and just start doing. Start being the person today that gets the results tomorrow, because inevitably they will come. Start loving more, start talking more and communicating more, because there's one thing we learned over the last 18 to 24 months and what we've been through this whole pandemic thing is people need people. And depression, anxiety, and suicide has never been higher than right now in our lifetime as a civilization. People need you. If you're listening to me right now, people need you. They need your story, whether it's as crazy as mine or you don't think so. They need you. And so I just want to encourage you right now, take that step that you've been thinking about, act on that today, and find someone that can help cultivate and marinate and motivate and mentor that, so that you can constantly be getting better. As far as getting in contact with me, John, the quickest way, I'm a little old school, Instagram, Facebook. I've got TikTok, I've got a YouTube, but Facebook is my jam. Maybe it's because I'm old and that's where most of my audience is, other coaches and speakers that hire me to teach them sales and persuasion, sales and pitching from stage. Those are the types of things when Myron Golden and Russell Brunson bring me in to teach their teams how to sell from stage, Facebook is the way. I'll check my Facebook message. Now, my public profile and all of that other stuff, my team handles that. But Facebook and Instagram, you can find me if you just search Coach Sharpen, just like it sounds, or first and last name Bryce McKinley. I also just published the real estate book that literally opened the doors. It's like a 60 or 70 page ebook, and it's everything. If you've ever wanted to get into real estate, it's 5hourflip.com, the number 5hourflip.com. I've literally figured out how to take from start to finish 5 hours worth of work. And you hear about this no money out of pocket thing, and that's all BS. But I've figured out a way to use other people's money and network in relationships, and within 5 hours worth of work have a real estate transaction. And that's how we do, more deals virtually than anybody else. And I broke it down into 70 pages, the 7 steps to business, the 5 steps of conversation. And it's $7 if you guys want to go grab that. And if you grab that book, you can actually book a call with me and my executive team directly. So me, my partner Kyle, and 2 of our sales managers, you can book a call directly from there. It's the number 5hourflip.com. It's the 5 hour flip method, how we've wholesaled and flipped over 10,000 properties virtually in the last 10 years. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of my team and I.
Awesome. I love it. I love that you mentioned the old school way. And I also wanted to ask you, it came back to me from earlier, actually 2 thoughts. Number one was, according to Sharpen, Champion Circle curriculum, we spend an entire quarter of business. In fact, we spend the third quarter of business doing an in-depth dive of the 7 habits of highly effective people. And one of the major leadership qualities is sharpen the saw. And that was one of the things I was like, there's a connection here. And I'm so glad you used the example of sharpening your tools, sharpening your skills, sharpening yourself. And I love that. And then the last thing I was going to share is with your charity, is there any way that we can support that and share that with the world, or donate or provide any sort of help in our own donations to your charity?
Yeah, so I don't market that just
Okay.
for a lot of reasons, to be honest with you. Personally, like I feel like my ministry, it's almost self-sustaining. You know, I mentioned that I live off about 10% of my income. Like that other 90% goes right into that, and it's taken care of well. I would ask, like, if you want to be a part of that, reach out, come serve with us, come to Dallas on the second Saturday of the month and throw a pizza party and serve breakfast and pass out sleeping bags and hygiene kits and pizzas in the afternoon and spend a day on the streets. That's what I would ask. Like, we've got the resources. We always need more people. Like, I can't throw sleeping bags like footballs, all day long, because I'd be losing my arm and losing my voice. So that's what I would ask. Like, book a call with me, jump on my calendar, shoot me a message, and come to Dallas and serve with us. That's what I would ask.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for that invitation, just so that some of my listeners know. They're very eager to connect on those things. Appreciate that. And again, I want to iterate too. You can connect with Mr. Bryce McKinley on social media anywhere. Facebook is preferred, Instagram too. Go grab a copy of his ebook. I downloaded it when I first saw him broadcasting it, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I don't do real estate. I'm not even a real estate flipper, but the information is more than just about house flipping. It is that leadership. It is those steps to success, and it's a mindset development before it's a house flipping concept. And then if you're into real estate, it's huge opportunity to learn about flipping in a really cool way. So I see both ends of the spectrum. So I wanted.
If I can do it, a reformed gangster from the city, like sleeping in my car, if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do this. And my son, he's 10, like he can do it too. So
I love it. Well, Bryce, thank you so much for joining me on the Circle of Knowledge podcast. This will not be the last time. I loved our conversation, and knowing who you are and knowing what I've learned from you in just a short amount of time. I'd love to have you back sometime, and we can do that, and we'll schedule that in 2022. But I would love to continue to delve deeper into what you know, what you can share, and what you provide to people, because I feel like we received a masterclass full of information today, which is amazing. So I hope that everyone takes his challenge seriously and starts working on those 5 steps to communication. With that being said, my brother, I value you. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for all that you've given, and we'll sign out here, and I'll talk to you back in the green room, we'll call it.
I love it. Thank you, John. Thank you guys for listening. God bless. Stay sharp, and we'll see you at the top.
See you at the top. All right, everybody. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on the Circle of Knowledge podcast. Thank you.